We have some information that people believe should have been private and that is coming out. We also have people saying that there is a shirtless picture of JK of him in the shower and what that is. And then we have JK calling out some stalkers and what happened there. So Dumplings, it's Dave Disci. Let's get into it. There has been this rumor going around that started since JK called out some stalkers at his gym. So if you didn't know what was going on with that, basically what happened was JK called out some stalkers that were going to his gym while JK was working out, basically popping up and recording him. So he obviously called them out because he didn't want them to show up. This was obviously his personal time, and people were then showing up to randomly just record. And it's even quite odd how they even know what gym he goes to because it's not public information and it can be very jarring. However, as jarring as it could be, it's not as uncommon as you would think, because if you just simply see a celebrity out and about, let's say you're not trying to stalk them or you're not specifically targeting the celebrity, but you just see them out and about, you might wonder where they're going, or if you even see them multiple times because you guys are in the same area or you guys live within the same area, you might eventually kind of know their schedule. I'm not saying this to justify the stalker's actions, but also to understand that as severe as it can be, it also cannot be as severe. So hopefully this brings some ease of mind to some people, where they're kind of feeling a little bit more comforted by the fact that he's not in severe danger. But anyway, since he did call them out, some people were saying that he said it in a way where he was almost calling the stalkers his fans. So this came from this idea that he was basically saying that his fans need to stop stalking him, or at least that was the rumor of what he said. And so a lot of people were saying, why are you even calling these people fans? Because these are not people that anyone should consider fans, right? These are people that are potentially trying to invade his personal space for the sake of their own gain, rather than thinking of the artist. Aside from that, a lot of people in the community have even tried to separate the word fans from army to say that fans might do this, but an army wouldn't. When in reality, I think those words can be used interchangeably because it's called a fandom. So you can definitely use those words together and it mean the exact same thing, which is exactly why JK probably never said the word fans or his fandom name at all. He specifically just said that these people, or that some people were doing something like this. However, these are the little details that really irk me because God forbid he does accidentally say fans. Oh, that would be such a huge scandal. He would be ridiculed, he would be mocked. There would be people saying he hates his community. So many awful things would be said about him. All because he misspoke or said what I think any other community would be understanding about, but because it comes from him and because it's K-pop fans, people get upset. Now, something I addressed in a video that was like a couple days ago was the story of the Superbowl and JK performing. So if you're unsure of what's going on with that, JK had this song Standing Next to You and it featured Usher. Usher was allegedly going to bring JK onto the Super Bowl to do the performance of that song, but JK ultimately said no. Of course, we can figure out why he said no. This is because he's in the military. Now, people are very upset about this because they see it as information that was withheld from them, that this was something that the label purposely did and not mention because they knew that the community would get upset. Of course, there was a big uproar when Usher did the performance and JK didn't go, but the uproar was more towards Usher and more towards the organizers of that performance rather than it was towards the label. In fact, I don't think the label got much backlash or hate or any of that stuff, so why on earth would they then address it or talk about it? However, keep in mind that they are a label that is in Korea, so they probably don't want to talk about something that's going to make Korea or the country itself seem bad or get hate. So in that case, they just stopped talking about it. And likely the only reason why Usher talked about it in an interview was because he wanted to address the backlash that he was getting. However, there is another subset or community that's really upset, and this is for a little bit of a different reason. People think that the label had been actively pushing BTS to come together or have a reunion, to the point where this has now been causing JK to lose out on opportunities. A lot of people believe that JK is young enough where he doesn't have to enlist right away, and since the label wanted to have BTS come back together sooner, he was then robbed of this opportunity to perform at the Super Bowl. Now, I have a theory, and the theory is basically that JK wanted to get to the military faster, and he did this on his own accord. If you're not aware, JK enlisted around December of 2023. Usher did his Super Bowl performance 2 months later in February. 2 months is not enough time to put together this performance. Usually artists are known about the performance several months before. It's not like a regular performance, it's a whole setup. It's a whole process that takes months and months. At the very least, it would take 3 to 4 months, sometimes 6. So if we're going by that theory, JK likely knew about the Super Bowl performance when he enlisted in December. If he wanted to postpone it a little bit longer, I think he could have. I don't think he has any contractual obligation to enlist. The enlistment is more so what he has to do for his country, and then the return date was even specified as an estimate. It wasn't going to be for sure. So there's no contractual obligation for him to enlist that early and to make the reunion, unless he himself wanted to get back into the group. This is part of the K-pop community that irks me, because it's very clear where the members' desires are. Their desires are to be a group again. That's the only thing that they want, and people who are getting upset are putting their own desires into their favorite celebrity without accounting for what they actually want. I've said so many times on this page, an artist has so many different goals. People get upset when their artist isn't the most famous artist in the world without accounting for this idea. What does that artist that represents you and you love them, do they actually want to be the most famous person in the world, let's say? There's also been this photo that has been going around, which has garnered a lot of attention. This is a photo that was posted on TikTok, and people aren't exactly sure if it's real or not. Given the rise of AI and all those sorts of things, who knows what's actually real and what isn't? And even before all of this AI stuff, K-pop editors have been notoriously known for being the best editors in the world. And I say that more as a compliment than anything else, because it is truly, truly amazing. However, this photo has come out and appears like a photo of JK taking his shirt off while using his phone to take a mirror selfie. And it appears like it's either a locker room or some sort of bathroom. This made a lot of people freak out, with a lot of people thinking, has this photo been ripped off of his phone? Is this like a stalker taking it, or what is going on over here? If you look at the bathroom, it definitely looks a lot nicer than probably what a military bathroom looks like. I don't know what the rules are in Korea, but in America, the military bathrooms are definitely a place with no privacy. People pee, shower, do all of those things kind of in the open. So it probably wouldn't be a military bathroom. Now, could this be a gym bathroom or somewhere where he works out? Totally possible. However, my guess from this photo is actually that it's AI. I don't believe that this is a real photo, and I believe that it was just edited to kind of look hot, and that is exactly what it is. People definitely underestimate AI, I think. There's a lot of companies, a lot of people who praise AI and say AI is good for this, and every company is going in that direction. However, there's a lot of users and people who are very reluctant to use it because they think it's not good, or they think it's bad, or whatever, not realizing how good it actually is lately. I'm sure if you work in corporate, or even if you're a professional in tech, an entertainer of sorts, influencer, whatever, you've probably been offered to go to a lot of conventions or training sessions, or just brands wanting to show you what their AI can do and how it's different. And when you go to these things, you start to realize how good it actually is, and that it can be used to the point where a lot of people won't be able to distinguish what's real and what is fake. Now, there's a reason why there's laws in place, and there's sort of these things embedded in the coding where it can look super realistic, like the images can look real, but they can't look super real. And that's because if it's not embedded into the code, there's really nothing stopping AI from looking and making something super realistic. We're talking about photos and videos. Of course, a lot of these codes only exist in commercial AI platforms and apps, but if you can just make it your own, or somehow incorporate AI into your own software and change the coding, then you're able to create something that actually looks really real. And even aside from that, a lot of these editors are just really good. So I think that that's what it is. Let me know what you think. Make sure to check out Patreon for more videos, link down below. Thanks, just leave a comment right here. Love you, bye.